Welcome everybody to Into the Score. My name is Avishai Darash. I'm your host for this podcast. And Into the Score, we get a chance to meet, talk, and sit with very interesting people from the industries of arts, culture, sometimes day-to-day politics, and of course the underlining theme of entrepreneurship. And there's another thing I want to say. We have 99% of the people that are listening to this podcast are not subscribed. Yes, you that is looking at me right now and watching this podcast or listening to it in your headphones on Spotify, you're not subscribed. Why? Why? You don't like us? You don't love us? We do so much for you. We bring content all the time. You know what you have to do? Subscribe. Anyway, today I have with me a great friend, close friend, an amazing violinist. Without further ado, André Felipe Lima. How are you doing, man?
Very good. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm also happy that you're here. So let's start, man. Tell me your story. Take me from the beginning. Brazil, and then we're going to get to Amsterdam.
All right. I'm a Brazilian violin player. You know my story pretty well, but I'm going to talk to everyone. I started in São Paulo, which is my hometown. I started violin at the age of 10 in a social project, which meant I started to learn violin with 40 other people, learning cello, viola, double bass, and violin on in a string orchestra.
Wow.
It's a really interesting project.
Nice.
There are not so many people who do it, but in the Netherlands you also have the Libero Orchestra that does it like this. And we were 40 kids learning, and this project was called Pão de Açúcar, the sugar loaf bread from Rio. It's inspired in this name, and you have amazing musicians from this project everywhere in the world right now, because it brought such talent and motivation. It's really amazing. I can show you some of the musicians that came from there.
Wow. Right.
We have Pão de Açúcar. That's where I started. I learned violin with 40 other people. And at the age of 14, we then toured America with people who had started 4 years earlier.
North America, you mean?
North America. We went to the States. Then we came back through Argentina and played in a lot of Brazil, so North and South America. So that meant that we were like an amazing orchestra of really young people. So that's where I really come from musically. So I'm an orchestra musician. I started with violin relatively late for the instrument. And then I just went into this touring life really young. So I have a lot of experience with orchestra music. And then at the age of 15, I started to really go into violin. So like really learn how to play. Because when you're learning in an orchestra, I think you have this with piano as well. When you're playing piano in the orchestra? No, you don't. But when we're playing on the orchestra, it's really difficult to find your own sound in the violin. So
because it gets swollen in the sound, yeah.
You have maybe 40 other people with you, and you don't know how you sound. And then at 15, I discovered violin for good. Went to some of the best musicians in Brazil to learn the violin then.
Right.
And then learning the violin, I discovered my passion for violin as well. And never lost the orchestra one. But it was like, okay, I know also I love violin. And in my next years, then I studied violin a lot and decided to continue with violin and orchestra on the side a bit. And developed through there. I went through a lot of stages. A stage of really being an orchestra musician again. And then I discovered also that I like to do solo violin. I like to do other things like Brazilian music. I like to do Latin music. Like to play some jazz. Like to play some different styles. We played, for example, Middle Eastern style together. And that was also something that I discovered, okay, I like to be my own player too, which is a very different thing to an orchestra player. And I discovered, this amazing world that's music. Playing together with a bunch of people is amazing. Playing with 2 people is really nice too.
Yeah, yeah. And okay, so I want to actually take it from the beginning. You said you started when you were 10. How did you get to that? What was the process?
I played instruments before at school. And then from school, this teacher told me, you should try this project, the pão de açúcar, the sugar bread one.
Yeah.
And from there, I just discovered like this passion. When I want to one day show this to other people, how amazing it can be to play in an orchestra from day one. So that was really the click for me. Okay, I play in this orchestra day one. This first sound we make is amazing. Pizzicato, playing with the conductor, playing. Everyone together is like, whoa, we are making music. So that was my awakening.
Yeah. And so that was your awakening, but then you said that around 15, does it come in the same conjunction? Like you understand that you want to deepen your relationship with the violin in that sense. So you were playing in section, you were like, okay, you were doing this like communal thing, everybody's playing the same and this. Was there a pivotal moment that you were like, I need to get better individually in this instrument?
When I started to do master classes that I had to play violin, a lot of the teachers said, you have amazing energy and musicality. Now you need to go really into the violin. And when I started to notice, okay, I see, so I have to practice violin technique. I have to go on my own because we rehearsed so much. It's a little bit like El Sistema, this orchestra from Venezuela. You're almost every day there. It's your job. You're earning a small amount of money and you're every day there. So I had this amazing experience, but the violin technique was something I needed to discover. And at 14, I started to do master classes in Brazil as well. And then at 15, I was really ready to take lessons every week, which for me was really new.
So before that, you didn't have lessons every week. So you were just basically, you took the instrument, they're like, here's the section, go for it. Who showed you the positions? Who showed you?
We learn all together because violin, viola, cello, and double bass, like you would, okay, I'm talking to the viola now. You have to do this like this. Or you talk to the cello. You have to do it like that. Put your finger like this. So we learned all together. So to say, I learned a little bit about cello and a little bit about double bass.
Right.
But I never really learned like, okay, the millimeter that this is going to do on the violin. But I think that this is an amazing way of learning. Because making music in this young age is so nice.
And together also, to be a part of a community on that.
I see here a lot that so many kids, they learn for years before they make any music.
Yes. Yeah, because that's a funny, that's always like the joke that runs, it's like you come to a piano lesson, it's like, boom, you make music. But like violin lesson, it takes years until you get some sort of like bearable sound, right?
If you're going to put a lot of love and care into your violin, it's going to take 2 years.
Yeah. Wow. 2 years.
And that's a lot of love and care.
Yeah.
2 years is not so little.
I mean, I'm teaching kids. It's like, it's immediately like, tuck, they get the immediate response, reciprocation. Like here, you press the key, you get a sound back, So, and then I remember that I tried to play violin. Like it was just like, I put it, it's like, it's like, sorry for everybody listening to getting this sound in your ears, but I can imagine just the type of trust that it requires of not giving up.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing that this project does. Learning in a group, you're never going to give up.
No,
I think that the number of talented people that come from there, it's because no one gave up. All of us are around the world now. We have maybe 5% of the musicians that gave up.
Wow.
Do you know any project that has done that?
That brought musicians that brought like kids together, and then later they became professionals.
Of course you have a lot of projects, but that did 95%.
No, that's like a huge success rate. That's a great success rate.
Crazy. Yeah, because you just like took everyone who really wanted to do it. A lot of people were sent away because they needed that level of discipline. So when I say this, it comes like your parents really have to make the decision with you.
Yes.
That they're going to take you there every day. It's a really different way of learning, but it was a dream come true.
No, but this is great. This is really like such a nice initiative. Is the Libero Orchestra doing the same?
They don't take it to this level of that I know. They don't take it to like you're there every day, but they do have projects where you learn in a big band, for example.
Yeah.
They have string orchestras.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times a week, but I've seen that they're learning together as well, and I think that that's so important.
That's so important because you push each other also up.
Yeah.
And it's also this thing of you are with people that are in a similar size and age as yours, and you're not just alone in a room with some adult telling you like, let's do it again. And I see it. I see it with the piano. I tell the parents, it's like, if your kid is really serious about it, get more friends and start a little band.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna somehow make it happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you gotta try it somewhere. And okay, so we have 15. You're discovering the violin. It's like turning. There's a turning point. It's becoming like a pivot. It's becoming like a centralized theme in your life. What happens later?
What comes after discovering that I want to do violin is that violin is extremely hard. So I didn't know that violin was so hard until I was 14, because I sounded good, because I had a lot of other people with me. This is what an orchestra does. For people who don't know, when you're playing with 40 people, if you make a little mistake, it's not noticeable.
No one is going to hear it. Yeah.
No one is going to hear it.
Yeah.
If you're rehearsing every day, the orchestra will sound good.
Yeah.
You're really learning how to play together with everyone, which is a very different art. To follow like this motion that you're really good at, but you don't know exactly how to play the violin. So I decided with my family as well that I was going to learn the violin, and I discovered, okay, the violin is way harder than I thought. What you tried on the violin, I tried when I was 14. I was like, just these weird sounds, and I got that. And then I also fell in love with the violin. I did the opposite, as every musician here, I think, does.
Yeah, it's like basically you start with the instrument individually, and then you go to an ensemble.
Yeah. And it was not in the hands of my parents to then find me somewhere to play. It was nice. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Because you probably tell your students, like, try to make it happen so that they make music.
Yes.
But that's hard for the parents.
Because the parents are not coming from these type of communities. They don't know with who to talk to. And most, I mean, like where I teach also, it's a very specific area of Amsterdam. It's, high middle class, like, there's money and all that stuff, but it's like, they're not, for them, piano is the same as soccer, or, it's like a activity that their kid is making. And it's very refreshing to find sometimes a kid that you see, you can actually be a musician, if you put, and it's something that after almost 10 years of teaching, it's like, you see it in the first lesson. You just see it, like he or she are getting it. And I had this conversation with parents. It's like I had to show them, just when you put numbers to it, they realize like, oh, wait a second, that's not so much. Like, I see your kid half an hour per week. We have that much minutes per week. And then I show them the fractional percentage that I'm actually seeing them, and how much time they have to invest in practicing the instrument. I always say 3 minutes every day is better than 20 minutes before the class.
I agree.
And all of a sudden when you put it in numbers for them, it's like, oh, that's not such a big thing, actually. It becomes big in your head, It's just consistency is king.
Yeah.
If they're consistent, they're going to get it. They're going to do it. You need talent. I mean, that's what I'm interested to ask you also. Do you believe talent exists?
I think it exists, but as a state of mind and not as something you're born with. I like this idea of talent is how you are in your mind at this specific moment. I'm sure you've been talented before, and I'm sure you have sucked in some moments too.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So I have the same.
100%.
I have been very talented in some moments where I had the exact mindset. The mind state was exactly there to do what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And how more talented you are, more frequently talented you are, that's really what makes the difference.
Yeah.
So like people like Cristiano Ronaldo will say, stop saying that I'm talented, I work.
I agree with that.
I like that too. So my opinion goes to the side of, I think it is true that there's this predisposition, yes, but it's more like a mind state. For me, that's how it feels. When you're there in the right moment with the right mindset, that's talent. And I believe it's, for me, I've been there and I've also not been there.
Yeah, you have been there like in the right mindset and not in the right mindset, and then like it's like you're playing as like a shadow of what you're able to do usually, right?
100%.
Yeah. So again, let's take me again on this journey. So you discovered the violin is very hard. You put you put the bow, you get some cat sounds.
Yes.
You practice. What is the next step? Like you have
But
years.
I had to find a school.
Yeah.
I didn't have a school. So I went to one of the schools. It's called the school of the city of São Paulo, because there you have a lot of things from the state. And this school was really good. Brazil doesn't have a lot of music schools, but there are ones probably like Israel that exist. They are just, they are good schools.
Yeah.
And for free. So then I found a teacher and really went into violin as much as I could.
Yeah.
And 3 years later, I was good enough on the violin that I could then get a job in Brazil as an orchestra musician, because I played really well in orchestra. So that the path got a bit more complete.
So that's 18. You're 18 at that time. Yeah.
When I was 18, then I started to have a new dream, which was, okay, I want to go somewhere to Europe. I didn't know where exactly. I thought maybe the Netherlands, but I want to go somewhere in Europe to study.
Yeah.
Because I saw that Brazil had a lot of good schools, but you would have the highest level here, or maybe in another country, but mostly in Europe. And that was the next step that I saw.
Yeah. And you were still in the trajectory of the classical, thinking like orchestra,
I
classical,
didn't start with
repertoire?
only classical. That's the thing. We also played Beatles. We also played Brazilian music. I never started just Tchaikovsky. I started with things that I knew how to sing, for example.
Okay.
The first lessons were really, we first learned how to sing a song, and then we played.
Yeah.
So my background is more pop, and then classical.
I like that.
So I didn't have this really, okay, I'm playing Vivaldi. I didn't have that. So my pop background is more present than the classical.
Yeah.
And then when I was a little bit older, I played classical music for real. Because
like when you were starting to work when you were 18 and stuff, or was it?
at 15, I really played classical music in violin lessons.
Yeah. And that does it have to do with with the culture of the instrument, or was it like, I mean, because you could have decided to go in a different, you say, I'm just playing pop and just practice pop or jazz. The reason I'm asking is because if I look at the piano, for instance, if you want to play the instrument correctly, classical, in terms of technique, I'm saying, you can butcher me in the comments, I understand.
They will.
They will. But I'm saying, like, in terms of, the amount of literature, the amount of pieces, the amount of this, it's, and the technique is just more there. And I wonder if it's the same, or if it correlates with the violin.
I think that in violin, you just have 95% of the violin players are classical. I had no idea I could find a pop teacher back then. I maybe would have, or a jazz teacher back then. Maybe I would have, because...
Okay. So it's because of the availability of basically what...
Violin players, they are all classical. Let's be honest. You know how many now?
I know a lot, yeah.
Most of them.
Most of them are like, if someone tells me, if I hire them and they're like, I'm classically trained, I have more confidence, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm more like, okay, so like whatever I write, whatever it is, it's going to work. Yeah.
It's really interesting. I think this, like, in classical, do you trust or not?
Yeah.
Because you're talking now about jazz music, I believe.
Yes.
You're talking about jazz music. So are you going to trust the classically trained? Well, he has amazing technique, I can tell you.
But the timing is problematic.
Yeah.
Timing, and then also understanding of bar, of like, it's not just lengths of notes and the dynamics, it's really like...
Music grids.
Yeah, like where the bar is, like the structure, that is very like rigid and all that stuff. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because, you know, when we were working together with the orchestra, it was kind of like we were looking for a combination of the two, like people that can read very well, but they have great fucking timing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can just nail it in the
Mm-hmm.
timing. We had certain musicians that were amazing classical. They couldn't hang. They couldn't hang because we would write very rhythmical stuff, and they saw it more as like a expression of the beat. And I was like, no, this
Fluctuating and moving together.
exactly. It needs to be there.
Yeah.
It's here, not
Yeah.
like left or right. It's here. So that's really interesting. Like, so that orchestras that you started working with when you were 18, they were hybrid orchestras, or was it just
Hybrid.
Hybrid. Okay.
Hybrid.
So you were doing like
I
pop
played with
repertoire?
Sepultura when I was 16. So we have a cameraman here, João. He loves it. So I played with the biggest metal band.
Awesome.
So you see, it's everything in my life was hybrid.
Yeah.
So I want to go back and say,
I
I trust more the classically trained for technique.
Yeah.
They have been hammered.
Yeah.
95% of the violin players, they have been hammered with you have to play like that. But they are these I play in one room kind of players. Unfortunately, that's their specialty. They really know how to play alone and sound amazing, something I had to learn
Yeah.
in a later age.
To become a soloist, basically.
Yeah, that's what they know. That's what they're trained for. And then there's the other side. Okay, if you want to play in any pop music nowadays, you have to play in a grid. You have to play exactly metronomical.
Yeah.
We're not trained like that. I'm speaking now like I'm a classical violin player, which I mostly am. But we're not trained to really be precise in the other departments.
Yeah.
So tempo is the first one.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Even tuning.
Tuning, man. Tuning.
Even
Absolutely.
tuning.
Yeah.
Like you know that a classical player plays in tune with himself or herself.
Yeah, I remember, for instance, that we recorded this electronic stuff, and I was like, man, it has to be higher. It has to be like it sounded beautiful, but it has to be like this
dry tuning. So
like,
when you play with the piano, that's the note, and we don't practice like that. We listen to our tuning, but it's not in a grid.
So basically, it's like you are in a constant relative thing.
Yes,
relatively. What it was before, so you're like pushing it towards that instead of like this is a standard.
Yes.
Yeah.
So violin players classically go high, because when you're playing on the violin, here's a distance, but here is much smaller, right? So when you go up, you just keep your hands there, and then everything's high.
Yeah.
You play with bigger distances than you have to. Everything's high. So with the violin, it sounds in tune, but when you play with a grid, then you're not in the grid. So that's something that we classical musicians can learn. And I was always in the between of these two worlds.
It's interesting because probably it creates some identity crisis in that sense. Like, am I classical violinist, or am I like more commercial pop? Like, I can do both, but in which like niche am I falling? So how long, from 18 till which age were you working in Brazil in orchestras?
Until I came here, that was 20.
20, so 2 years.
Yeah, I consider that I worked actually the whole entire time because I never stopped. But when I was 18, I really got into prestigious orchestras.
Yeah.
Like really the best ones that you had to get a job in. So when I felt complete, it was when I was 18. Okay, I can play the violin and I can play in an orchestra.
Okay. And then 20 comes. How does Amsterdam come into the picture?
It came to me because I studied in a school called MSP in São Paulo, and they had a partnership with Amsterdam Conservatory.
Okay.
Having a partnership meant that they wanted some of their students to go to Amsterdam.
To do exchange.
Yeah, represent. And I did my bachelor's in Amsterdam. I studied five years in the conservatory. And then I was one of the students that went to do this sort of representation of the school from São Paulo.
And so, but you had like very exciting times there, right?
Yeah.
With the school.
Yeah.
Like,
Because I was still this hybrid musician, really free,
yeah,
with a lot of, knowledge in other things that people there didn't have. So that's hard.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
hard. So you know that you're really prolific already when you're coming there.
Yeah.
You know that there's an area that you do super well, but you just have to, the standards here are super high.
Mm.
When you're talking about, okay, I found out about violin at 15 and then learned until 18, is that enough? No, it's really not enough. So here my standards had to get higher, and I had to then conform to this violin. I think it's problematic world that we are all very boxed
Yeah.
as violin players. I think that's one of the hardest things for me. Now before you just said the crisis of identity. For me, it's so hard that the violin players have to be so boxed. They're just in this small box, and that's not ideal, because no one is playing only one kind of music.
And yeah, it's just nowadays it just doesn't. It's not efficient. It's not functional. You can't do it. You got to be flexible. You got to be able to do many different things, and also be able to be open for many different things. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in the niche of the niche of the niche, and you're going to be without anything. But I want you to tell me more about this. Tell me more, like, you had a hard time conforming in which way? What happened?
The conservatory to me was difficult because you have to be so extremely behaved as a violin disciplined person. So forget about the other types of music that you might want to play.
Wow.
That's really difficult.
So they castrate you a little bit.
I don't know if they're doing it to everyone, but I felt personally that it was like you have to play classical music, and that's what we expect you in your final exam, is that you're doing a classical course.
Yeah.
And you are more expected to go into this direction.
Right.
And that's what they're looking for. And to me, the more interesting path was the combination of those things.
Yeah.
So being a student like that, it's tougher. And I didn't have that mindset before. You just have to be so strong in your beliefs. You have to be so strong that's what you want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. It takes a lot of willpower. Also.
Yeah. And when you come to an institution where you want to learn, you also get confused, because then should you be so difficult, because that's how I felt. Am I being difficult here? Should I just believe what I believe and continue going on, or am I the hard student?
So, and how did you graduate? Or
No, I haven't finished the conservatory.
Okay.
I did 5 years and then didn't finish the last year.
Wow. Okay.
Which is...
But it came as like a boiling point. You were just like,
yes,
F
because
this.
it wasn't good for me anymore in the end.
Yeah.
And personally, I think I was paying more the price internally of not feeling like that was so good. So I think it was the best decision for me at the time to just really, I decided to go with me. And I think a lot of people must have had that as well in the conservatory.
Well, me also. I had a very hard time there.
Yeah, I've talked to other people who they were just having to do so much that wasn't, what they want to be or what they already are, that it becomes really hard with the years. Absolutely. And really becoming someone that you're not was not possible anymore. And I didn't want to finish that. And I had a little bit of trouble with, I don't want to finish with a product that's not me.
Yeah.
Because you have to do then your or album or your
end exam,
final exam.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit hard, I think, to then, what do I do? Do I just completely ignore and do me? Or do I go in the direction of what do they want me to do?
Yeah. And what is let's say, just like draw me a picture. Let's say you would have done your final exam, but you had like a carte blanche, you could do whatever you want in your final. How would it look?
It would have a little bit of classical music, but I have to say I'm like a cheesy person for my music taste. I like really simple music. I like pop music.
Yeah.
I like simple sounding nice music. I don't have to have this smart violinistic stuff. I don't have to play anything virtuosistic to feel good.
Yeah.
And then in an exam, well, you want to see what someone can do, but I don't want to show it in a violin piece. So it would be a very big mix of Brazilian pop, a little bit of jazz, and a little bit of classical music. And maybe I would put some wild cards in there as well.
That's awesome.
Because I love things from so many music styles.
Yeah.
I think you do too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm very much into composition. That's the thing. That's why I couldn't find myself in the jazz department. Although I love jazz and I studied it for many years, I'm a composer. And then I came with a bunch of like music that I had. And I just came from New York. And in New York people are really committed to the exotic, in the sense of the more exotic, the more personal, the more, at least that was my experience, the more of yourself to put out there and the more special it is, people get drawn to that. That was my impression, at least, in all the gigs that I heard. And like, I heard music that I didn't know could exist, you know. And then I come to Amsterdam after that with like a pile of compositions that I wrote with friends of mine back then. They were really the craziest of the craziest. Like, we would just play so much together and come up with these ideas. It was really like a hub of creativity. And I was told very clearly, you have to get your head out of New York. No one is going to listen to it here. No one is going to hire you. And you know, I had clashes with the piano teacher there, and it was a big. It was pretty much a very traumatic crisis for me. Now I can talk about it. But back then I was 23, and I was like this arrogant little kid. I was touring already before coming, so I was like, so when I got there, I just wanted to already work, you know, without paying my dues to the city that no one knows me in it. I got work pretty quickly, but I was also branded very quickly. I got, what you say, canceled, you know, because I wasn't playing the politically correct game of relationships, and I was kind of, I brought it upon myself being outcasted a little bit in the conservatory, you know. And nowadays when I look at it, it was just it wasn't for me, you know what I mean. I was more, I just had to go and just do my own thing and write the music that I want to write and study the music that I want to study and be able to hone that and create my own stuff that I'm doing now. But at the same time, you know, everything is perfect the way it happened. I also find myself in situations where I had to learn also a lot, skill or interpersonal stuff, and that brought me to the moment now that we're sitting, you know, which is the most fulfilling artistically that I can say. So you've been having, you didn't finish your final exam, you didn't do it. How does that feel? How does that feel? That's like,
I feel happy about it.
No,
it's
no,
really interesting.
now, but I mean then, because you said it was like a struggle, right? How was the dynamics in the school? Like, how was it perceived? What was the...
For them, it's strange. For them, it's strange because I believe that they had a lot of hope in me. And I don't think I did it like you did. You said you sort of made yourself an outcast with actions.
Yeah.
I just took myself out.
Yeah.
I just started to, because I didn't fit in, I started not to want to go more and more.
Yeah.
So to me, to say I don't want to do it was really good at that moment as well.
Yeah.
Of course, there's pressure and you feel like, oh, that's a bad decision, but it felt really good at the moment too, because it was mental pressure in the sense of, am I gonna go into the box or am I not? So for me to say no, I'm not, was really good.
That?
This was quite a few years ago, 6 years ago.
6 years, okay.
And then I said, no, I'm not going into the box. I'm not. And that for me felt good. Because I feel like the world wants you. the world doesn't really consume if you're trying to be someone else.
Carbon copies of someone else. Yeah, the world doesn't want that.
It doesn't work. And I think if you can sell that, because some people can, you will have a really hard time to sell all the time something that you're not.
I think it takes a massive amount of energy
to
it's like an actor that doesn't get out of the role.
Yes.
You're like, dude, who are you? You know, you don't have any personality anymore at some point because you're so busy. Actually, to be honest, man, I can't remember. Maybe Joshua can help me if you hear it, Joshua. There is a great book by a psychoanalyst that was talking about what is narcissism, you know, and people talk a lot of times like narcissism is, you know, love of yourself and blah, blah. It's actually being so focused with projecting, according to him. We will put the book in the podcast. You are so busy with projecting a certain image to the outside that you don't feel what it is that's going on internally with you. And then that also develops lack of empathy to other people because you don't know what you feel. So how can you know how other people feel? That is actually pretty psychopathic if you think about it. And I'm not saying this is a situation, but
it could become if you're completely acting up your entire career, which is something that I consider doing.
Yeah, wow.
I honestly considered.
Wow.
Like, am I going to be that?
Yeah.
Am I going to do that? Am I going to fit into this box and be there forever? And then with some advice, I decided that I wasn't.
But at some point, you're just going to be very tired from that. You know, you're going to hit a certain age where the body can't hold that anymore. You know what I mean? It's like,
I've seen that in classical musicians like no other profession.
Wow.
Yeah, you have a lot of classical musicians, I think you've seen that as well, that are so unhappy about their career.
Their career becomes a fact, and their career becomes a fact, and then that fact is not fulfilling anymore. And then you realize, like, I cannot reinvent or revolutionize myself anymore because I'm old.
Yeah. I cannot earn any money comparable to this.
No.
I cannot change now anymore. I don't know how to play any other kinds of music that I like. Please show me a few classical musicians that actually really love classical music still.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that no one does, but
that's a big statement what you're saying here, and I would love to research that more because I think that that a lot of musicians don't realize it when they're in that trajectory. Like, sorry, classical musicians they don't.
Jazz a little bit as well.
Jazz, I mean, the thing with jazz is that you have a palette that could be broader for other types of work, you know? If you put your mind, but to be honest with you, I'm going to take it back. It's actually with every type of music. It really depends on, do you want to expand your horizons or not? Especially in the never-ending change of this world that we have constantly. You have to be able to do other stuff as well. Otherwise, you're going to be a relic, you know? You're going to be this old museum. Like someone is going to put you in a museum, like, look, someone who can play all the stuff that, you know, their conductor said or whatever it is, you know. Of course, I'm simplifying it, but the individuation right now that we're experiencing of, like, who are you as a person is much more attractive instead of just like this, we need you to fill in a role right now.
Yeah.
You know? So that sounds like a big leap of faith that you had to take.
I'm so happy.
How did it feel in that moment? Was it scary?
It's scary to send an email. It's scary to tell your family. It's scary to tell the few people who you trust and your teacher. That's scary. Yeah. But it comes with a lot of liberation. So I finally took the leap and said, I'm going to be me.
Yeah.
And why am I saying, like, why is it so hard? Because we don't understand that violin is the most disciplined instrument there is. It's the one that they teach you how to do everything to a T. You have no decision in so much of the, like, okay, let's get a little bit geeky. Your teacher is gonna decide which fingering you use,
Wow.
which bowing you use. So in piano, each finger that you use is gonna be decided by someone else.
Yeah. Wow.
When you use your pedal.
Wow.
So that's a little bit the box that I'm telling you about. So you're not really, I'm sorry to say, you're not like everyday artist.
No, but you become like a clerk of music.
Craftsman.
Yeah, craftsman. Yeah, because it's funny. Because for instance, I mean, I started pretty late with the piano, but there was like this interest of me going more maybe into the classical and having like career in it, and I was like, I will never do this because, first of all, the amount of time that I would have to invest in just having this type of repertoire and then afterwards competing for that, and it's never my music, and and the relationship between the musician, the artist, and the audience is so unforgiving.
Unforgiven, and you're not there with them.
Yeah, so
There's a wall
unforgiving.
in the between.
Yeah, it's like dance monkey, it feels like this, like entertain me, it's like, and I was more interested in, can I write that level of music to be able to have it on big stages and all this. That was way more fulfilling because I wasn't reading biographies of great instrumentalists. I was reading the biographies of composers. I was more gravitating myself towards that. And when I hear your story, I feel like, because we talked a lot about like composition, taking that leap, just composing, and this for me, composition is like the purest reflection of the person, in all of its form. Like, what are you writing? When everything is available to you, all the tools are available at your disposal, what is the thing you're going to write?
If you can say anything, what are you going to say?
Yeah, exactly.
If no one tells you to say anything, what are you going to say? If there are no rules, it's not this finger with this bowing, what are you going to say?
Yeah. Do you have anything to say?
That's the question.
Yeah, exactly. How is that going with the composition?
I'm more arranging than composing, but I think it's really very similar.
Yeah.
Because, well, I do a lot of composing in my arranging as well.
Yeah.
But to live as a composer is extremely hard.
Yes.
And I have not taken that leap.
Yeah.
I never tried to live as a composer. I could do it, but to me it would be a different game that I have not yet played well enough that I feel like I can actually play the game. But working as an arranger, that I have done, and I think it's extremely humbling.
It's very humbling arranging.
I think it's extremely humbling. You're confronted with blank pages.
I mean, it's also very selfless in that sense because you have to enrich something that has been given to you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I love arranging. It's like, it's actually, for me, arranging is like, it's almost like I can sign off sometimes because it becomes very technical at some point. And then
First you sign off.
Yeah, and then like you sign off like all the skeleton, and then how can I bring the magic in? You know, and that's something that is like, yes, let me.
Actually, how do you define arranging? I have this really hard time to talk to someone who's not a musician.
Yeah, how do I define arranging? So first of all, wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, because I had like actual legal stuff with it. It's so funny that you say that. So how I define arranging is that I have an existing work and I derive the arrangement according to that work, meaning that it's derivative work. I have a melody, for instance, or I have a song. It could be just one line, it could be an entire recording, and I have to fix it into a specific ensemble, meaning that the ensemble needs to be able to play it. And then it's really the question of which kind of details do I write every single instrument, or do I write guidelines for the rhythm section, for instance? Strings, in my case, at least from my experience, I really need to write every single thing. Also bowing over there, I learned it also from you. Winds also. Rhythm section is a bit different. Depends.
They
also
prefer not?
depends on the musician. That's always what I say. It really depends on the type of musician. Like, with my quartet, I write only lead sheets, but I write very specific parts for the trumpet. And now I'm adding a iwi to it, and there I can write 4 different voices because he can program them, so all of a sudden, like, it's going back to that. But getting back to your question, like, arranging is in that sense that I get existing work, I need to fix it to a different type of ensemble, and I need to still preserve the heart and soul of the work that I got.
Mm-hmm.
To make it like that, if, let's say, even the client will hear it, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Or the composer, like, okay, yeah, you really understood what it is that I'm trying to do here. So that's basically how I see it. And then you use all the tools that you have at your disposal. Like, you need to understand. That's why I ask, if someone asks me to arrange, I'm like, what is the instrumentation? I need to understand that. You can't just say arrange something.
Who are the musicians?
Yeah.
That changes
what is
a
the
lot.
Instrumentation first, and then who are the musicians? Because if it's like colleagues of mine that I know, and if it's people I don't know, that affects it
So much.
Then I ask, how long do you have rehearsals?
I asked that too.
Yeah. Oh, you have 5 rehearsals? I can go into details. You have 1 rehearsal. It needs to be as simple as possible. Dry. Strings are doing this. Winds are doing that. I want it to be almost like, and knowing the realities of musicians, like they have maybe 2 hours to prepare before the rehearsal, or 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to write something absurd, it's on me. But if I write something that is very palpable and they can prepare it quickly, they can go into the music also, like dynamics, and working together with an ensemble. But if they're struggling reading it and it's like it doesn't make any, then it's my mistake as an arranger, not reading the situation, So that's my 2 cents about it. For you, how is that?
Yeah, arranging is always hard for me to say what it is. But I usually say that it's retelling an existing story.
That's a good one.
Because the music would be the story and you would be retelling it. Are you going to tell it with 5 actors? Are you going to tell it with 1? So for me, it's like picking up this beautiful fable and then going again and thinking of other different ways. And you could completely change it. You can make it into a movie.
Yeah.
And some arrangers do that. And sometimes you as an arranger, you have the opportunity, you have the budget to make it into a movie. Yeah. And I like that you said that. You consider what is the production? How many people do we have involved and how much time?
Yeah.
And then you decide, because I am also a session musician like you are.
Yeah.
And we have seen all kinds of crazy stories, crazy movies.
Yeah. You're just like, for instance, I'm sorry, I love all of you. If you're not a pianist, consult a pianist before writing for piano.
Yeah.
Always. Because Sibelius, Finale, Music, like all these...
You just play.
All these programs, they don't give you basically the physical limitations that we have. I would get sometimes charts that I would be like, physically, it's impossible. It's like openings that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Either consult with with a high-level instrumentalist of it, or just make it simple, like a lead sheet, with chords and melody.
But some players can't play like that, so you really have to be involved in the production.
Exactly.
That's what arranging needs.
Exactly.
That you are involved in the production.
Yeah.
I think you became a much better arranger because you were always with your arrangements. Am I mistaken, or you were always involved in the production?
I was always involved in the production. Yeah. For instance, now I had a story that I was kind of involved in the production, but not really. It was a horrible, horrible story. And I'm not going to go into details because it still has legal stuff behind it. But there was some whack producer, and he tried to put a thing together. And I'll tell you more about it after the podcast. But like throughout the process, it just discovered that guy doesn't know anything of what he's doing, like nothing. Mm-hmm. And it started to collapse when I just asked very very simple questions, you know. Because then, if I look at that situation, I wasn't really involved in the choosing of the musicians and the choosing of, you know, the artists, and that had such an effect on me needing to write different. Like for instance, the lead vocal, she can read like great, but then her two backings have no idea about notes. So I'm like,
Why am I arranging?
why am I arranging? Why am I writing this?
Yeah, why do I write what they have to do if they don't read?
And but again, ignorance and lack of knowledge from this producer guy. Just dumb, you know? And when I said dumb, I also mean like doesn't want to learn, doesn't want to. He actually asked me, just for you to understand the absurdity of it, he asked me to see the arrangements before I sent it to the other. And I was like, what? It's like, yeah, I just want to make sure, you know, another pair of eyes. I was like, can you show me your work before that? And of course, then he retracted it and he said like, no, it's okay. You can send it to everybody. Because that's what I mean. It's like the level of production that you're getting into yourself into will really affect how you arrange.
So true.
If I get a amazing string quartet that I know, like let's say you, Luis, and viola and cello, I would write different. I would write different. It's not a generic thing. That's why you have big institutions that are keeping the same type of arrangers because they understand the musicians. We're not robots. We're not like, you know, pawns as session musicians that are just like, play this, be quiet, just play this, you know, because otherwise it's not the personal thing. But yeah, you're right. I was very much involved in the production that I know what to expect, you know.
That is a huge game changer.
Huge, because you told me you were doing arrangements also for a string orchestra, right? But you know the people.
Yes,
How did
they
that
are
affect?
all my colleagues for
Exactly.
many years.
Exactly.
That's just completely different game. That's how it's supposed to be. So I've done arrangements for orchestra that I play for, let's say 5 years, and then I take this role, and it's a completely different game.
Yeah. Did it affect your playing also?
I didn't play.
Ah, you didn't
Because
play. Okay.
I didn't want to do it like you, because I feel like it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot, because if there's a mistake in what I've written, then I have to go home after rehearsals.
I know, man.
And it always happens.
I know. There are always mistakes. Always like
It
something
always
doesn't
happens.
work.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Yeah.
we try our best to envision something at home.
Yeah.
And then this vision needs to be translated into not paper, a computer program.
Yeah.
And this computer program will then print something that someone will read.
Yeah.
I read something completely different than you read.
Absolutely.
And we are fairly similar.
Yeah.
We have fairly similar ways of reading.
Yeah.
But then you have people who will read completely different.
Absolutely.
It's ta, ta, ta.
Yeah.
You have people who play ta, ta, ta.
Exactly.
Ta.
Exactly. That's why, like in the rehearsals, I would keep like the click constantly and say exactly where it falls in this, because it's not that one is better than the other. It's just that there needs to be a consensus. And this consensus needs to come from the person doing the rehearsals or running it. Now, when I look back at it, it was so insane, the amount of work that I was doing. It was not really healthy.
No.
That's why I fucking hated it in the end. I couldn't listen to instruments. I was like getting, like my body was just like going into, you know, stress just by hearing an instrument playing in the background.
Yeah.
Because I was so overwhelmed with the amount of work that I needed to do. Because, you know,
I get overwhelmed as an arranger.
yeah.
And I never had to do arranging, rehearsing the musicians and playing myself.
Playing
And then you had to do
organizing
and social
conceptualizing.
media.
Fuck that, yeah.
So yeah, 5 jobs.
Yeah, 5 jobs, and it wasn't seen. It was like, oh, Avishai can just do everything, right? I was like, you're an idiot to think that, and that's why also like that's another thing, is that I feel like in the music industry or like the entertainment industry, people need to be a little bit more conscious about which kind of people are in front of them, you know, what are their abilities and stuff, and not
Yeah.
and be honest. Be honest, you know. I feel like honesty is such a four-letter word in
I think
our
it's hard
industry.
for us as well, musicians, because we see work as this holy thing that has happened to us.
Yeah.
So when you have the opportunity to do a really big project, you just thank God
Yeah.
and accept what comes to you. But that's
Yeah.
a big mistake that we do.
But then
I
you
think
don't
one
have
of the biggest
boundaries.
mistakes, yeah, not having boundaries is one of our biggest
Yeah.
mistakes.
Yeah.
Because you accept everything and you're so happy that you, oh my God, I'm the social media manager, and I'm the conductor, and I'm the pianist, and I'm the arranger. Oh my God, that's so good.
And then all of a sudden you realize, like, oh, I don't have any boundaries. And then like when
Yeah.
you put a boundary, people are like, wait, what do you mean? You put a boundary? You know, and then all of a sudden it starts to get like pointing fingers and gaslighting and all that stuff, which is ridiculous, you know, it's ridiculous. But we got to this moment in the podcast where I want to ask you about the worst gig that you had.
Worst gig. Yeah, I was thinking about that before, and I feel like I didn't have like really bad stories, but I had some funny ones.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
I remember one of the funny ones that I had. I played quite a lot of cruise ships.
Mm.
And in these cruise ships, I'm usually presenting the show. So as you did as well, you can take it however you want to take.
Yeah.
You can make it a comedy evening,
Yeah.
or you can make it a serious evening.
Yeah.
I play classical and pop music in the cruises
Yeah.
for maybe 200 people. And one of those, it was a storm in Amsterdam. And the boat wasn't moving, but still it was really rocky.
Oof.
And I played this 1 hour concert the entire time, feeling like I'm fused
Sick.
to here, sick.
Oh.
Sick. And I'm presenting, so I have to be so jolly. Let's say I'm presenting and making jokes. And in the last song, they're asking for one more. One more. And thanks God, in classical music, you have this stupid thing that you get off stage for a second. So you just get off stage for coming back.
When you vomited when you went off stage.
So I went off stage for 1 second. And off stage, in the case of the ship, is really the entrance of the ship. So I went off stage for 1 second and then
Vomited completely.
everywhere. And then came back happy finally. And did 2 more and then went back home.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was one of them.
It would have been funny if like they would have said, one more. Oh, you want one more? It's like,
I was almost there. Honestly, I don't know how it didn't happen.
wow, it's so funny.
I don't know how it didn't happen. I feel so lucky that
Wow.
the musician in me controlled, the violin player, let's say, the violin player in me controlled my body. Because it was very close to happening.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh.
but I don't think that's a really bad experience, is it? It's just...
No, it's a funny, it's a reality of
Yeah.
us as musicians. I mean, yeah, I also almost vomited on stage when I was playing with Marie Pepe and Maria Cristina and
In Spain or
in
here?
Spain.
Yeah.
In Spain, we went and they gave me a bunch of paellas and coffee.
It's good, but...
Coffee and beer and this, and then when we were on the way to do a sound check, I felt like whoop in my stomach, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And they were like talking about the repertoire. It was actually Mamusha with Fuensanta, and man,
Yeah.
I
How was it on stage? Tell me, please. I want to hear.
dude, they were talking during the sound check. I have no idea what they're saying.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, I
are you
was-
talking English? What is this? Like, I don't understand the language you're talking. And then I start feeling like really bad. I go down and the whole thing doesn't sit right. And we have to play in like 10 minutes. And I'm like, this thing needs to come out of me. Eventually, all the audience had to wait. And I basically vomited everything.
Where?
Like in the dressing room, in the toilet, yeah. And I remember Marie Peppa like really being like really concerned that like we have to cancel the show, like people came and all this, and I felt so good after it came out
Yeah,
of me. I
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah. I had the same.
I
How
went up.
many encores do you need?
Exactly, let's play. And then I played like one of the best shows ever. It was living hell before that,
Yeah,
because it's also like you feel this like very awkward feeling also of, you know, you shouldn't have stuffed yourself with all this
yeah,
garbage, and
yeah.
then everybody's okay, but you're the only one that is like fucked up. Oh, and everybody's like, yeah, you know, we have a show and this, and you're like, you feel you can't do anything about it because you feel so
So
bad.
hard, and you're carrying soup to the brim.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah, that's
oh.
really hard.
And it was like black, you know, because the black paella was. Oh god, it was.
Oh, nice.
Can't touch.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, I can't touch fish since I smell fish. I'm like, ugh, you know.
Yeah. No, but this to me was a good experience in the end because I played the encores. I really loved it.
Yeah.
The only thing that I don't like about gigs is when I play with people who don't want to be there.
Oh yeah.
That's the only thing that I can say. Like, yeah, that's a bad experience.
Yeah, that's a bad experience. Like when people are like when they don't want to be there, and
It happens a lot with classical. You're doing, for example, right now I'm truly someone who does classical and pop.
yeah,
I found my place.
yeah.
And then sometimes I do pop with people who only do classical, and they really don't want to be there.
Ah,
Sometimes.
okay.
And that can really change.
Is it
the
because they
waters.
look at it like from above and stuff, or they think it's...
I think maybe a little bit of that, maybe a little bit of they don't like that music. I don't know. Sometimes also like the sound is overwhelming. They're really not used to it.
Yeah.
If I try to defend the classical, like for example, when we played in an orchestra together, we had some gigs that, like drums were overwhelming around you,
of course,
and you
of
can
course.
barely hear your violin.
Like it makes no sense. Yeah, exactly.
So that can be one of the things.
I remember that. Yeah, that was.
But the hardest thing I think for me is to play
with people that don't want to be there.
like really don't want to be there.
Yeah, it feels so long, huh?
Yeah, you start feeling like them as well.
Yeah.
And I have all this jolly energy every time I play. You know me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's hard to.
It's so contagious, also,
Yeah.
like from both ends. You know,
Yeah.
if you're happy, and
Yeah.
it's like. I remember also when Spain, after I threw up, like I went up and I was so happy and jolly. The whole gig was great. You know, everybody was
Nice.
like, "Yay!"
You did in the right order.
Exactly. Not just be like, "Oh my God, kill me now," and then the gig ends and I'm like throwing up. No, thank God. No. It would have come out on the entire stage.
Damn.
Last question, which I'm very interested about, is if you could sit with André from 10 years ago that just came to Amsterdam for a cup of coffee, what would be the advice that you would give yourself with all the knowledge that you have now?
Yeah, I would say that to this younger man, choose the path of being courageous over the path of conforming to just what other people are telling you. Choose the most courageous path you can choose. Go for the most bold, because I was trained to never be bold, never do something that doesn't make sense with the norm. I was trained for many years like that, and every single violin player, every single classical musician, and also the jazz musicians, we are trained to be in the norm,
absolutely.
in the box.
Absolutely.
But I would say,
I think it's conservatory. Musicians are coming
it's
out of
also
conservatory.
the Netherlands a little bit. So you have other places. You said New York that they are.
Yeah, it's very different.
So it's not. But here and some other places like Brazil, where I come from, is really like that. Russia as well. Some other places like really, you have to follow those rules. I would say take the most bold path you can take. Go with every single instinct that you have, and never be shy. Don't care about what other people are going to think, especially not musicians. Especially not musicians, because I think all of us are doing less good in our career when we are thinking, what are the musicians going to think?
Oh, yes. Oh,
because
my God.
they're so hard to please.
It's a life of being confronted with your shortcomings. So, it's I had this funny conversation with someone about about my recent album. It was like, man, I love this album, blah 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 blah, and I was like, I'm happy that I still hear problems in it, because if it was a perfect album, I'll be like, holy shit, how am I going to make something better for the next one? You know, there's always this like, we want to get better, we want to get better. So it just seeps into every aspect of our life, of like, you're never satisfied, know. You should know that in advance. So
yeah, it's so hard. I think one of the things that I really like about you is that you decide to do something and you put it out.
Yeah.
And a lot of the mistakes that we do is that we don't put it out.
Yeah. It's not gonna, that's the thing. There is like a tipping point, which it's not gonna get better, because it's gonna get different. That doesn't mean it's better.
Yeah.
Because you are changing.
Yeah.
But you have to, like, now, for instance, I'm focused on this solo piano album that I'm recording with the label, and it's like, it has to happen on May, because I need to finish. Like, I'm done with the music. I'm done practicing it. I'm done. It's too much,
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah,
always.
I'm done. Like, that's the thing. I'm going to look at it. There are things that, it's a fact. It's going to sound in a specific way. There's a technical...
Who would hear that?
Me, but...
Let's say that that's okay.
Yeah.
You will always in your work hear something.
Yeah.
But who else apart from you?
No one. No
musicians would.
Yeah, maybe, not even, to be honest. Like, because, with solo piano also, it's mainly written stuff. And that was really interesting also, like, because I got, I'll play you, like, when it's ready, I'll send you some stuff. It's like, it has a classical aspect to it and this. And I was really training myself in that thing of just coming and playing it perfectly. Like, no. And usually it comes from me not being in the way. You get what I'm saying? Like, I've done it so many times, the movements and the patterns and this, that I can just focus on dynamics. I can focus on weight and all that stuff. But I'm not there, I'm not listening to every single thing, because I need to be observing more observant. Could be that, like, that I would hear it, the mistakes or the problems or whatever, within a few years of being removed from it. But in that time of recording it, it's what we talked about many times. It has to just come out, because you have to also put it behind you. I need to put it behind me. I need to just move forward.
You have to be able to put it out even if you don't like it.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And it took me so many years to learn. You have to not like it. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
And publish.
But that's the thing, that it's like, I listen to albums of mine from like 10 years ago or like this, and I'm like, oof, I made a long way.
You're never really going to love it.
But that's the thing. I came a long way. But yeah, I had to walk that path. And if I didn't release that music, I wouldn't be able to walk it,
Yeah.
That's why I always we had this conversation also with the electronic music producer, Marcel Vogel. And, about when to release stuff. And I was like, when it's done.
Yeah.
Release it.
Yeah.
I mean, do good. Don't half-ass it, like with the mix and the mastering. Do good work that it's industry grade, but these tiny small things that you think that are going to make it or break it for the piece, it's not. Make it or break it as if it's out or not,
Yeah.
Similar to what is happening now with the podcast. Like, we made a decision in the team that we're going to release it regularly now, because we are going to do something. Man, I'm saying a lot of dumb shit in this. I'm making a lot of mistakes.
We are learning to do everything we're doing.
Absolutely. I'm like, I say mistakes. Joshua is correcting me in the reels. It's very funny. I was talking about certain stuff and he was correcting me. Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
And it's cringy and it's this, but...
There's no other or better way.
Yeah.
Like, you can study podcasts for years. You can do like how to do a podcast. There are books now.
Wow, that's so crazy.
There are books now. Are you gonna like read about it? Like we as musicians,
to
we
put
do this.
to put a camera and like test cam and microphones and talk?
No, first you gotta buy everything.
Oh yeah, you gotta.
You know, first you gotta spend 6 months buying everything, and then you gotta get ready.
But you know, I have to say something about this, like about the podcast thing, is that, for instance, I really wanted to do it for a long time, and then I kind of like, I just said, fuck it, you know, I'm just doing it. I did it with iPhones, okay? And I had
Good.
the microphones.
That's what every musician should learn.
And then I just did it. And I started editing it, and I was like, oh my God, this is like, I need a different computer. I can't do it. I asked help from someone. I had this. Then eventually I just put it online. I was like, listen, I need help editing this. I'm doing this thing. There's a project. And Joao contacted me. Can you? Are we still getting a good signal? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And Joao contacted me. I was like, hey, I'm an editor, and I know Joao for years, you know.
Me too.
And I was like, yeah, but Joao, you're like the highest level. I mean,
Prolific, yeah.
I can't afford. Like, I have nothing, you know. And if I didn't try, and if I didn't put it out there,
yeah,
and if Joao wasn't like, I believe in this project.
You would be on the stage of, I don't have enough.
Be a stage of like, I don't have enough this, I need to wait until it's perfect and this. No, you just need to go and do it. And then the right people will come and the right time and it will happen.
You will learn at a faster rate as well. I would tell this to myself 10 years ago. There's nothing else I would say.
Yeah.
I would say, relax. Play badly, but put it out.
Yes. Yeah.
Relax. You'll never be perfect.
No.
I think the best musician I've ever worked with, he's a Brazilian guy, violin player, Claudio Cruz.
Okay.
He doesn't like his playing until a few years ago. He said, I started to like it a little bit. I heard a recording of myself. I liked it.
Maybe he's like resting more into like his career also, like knowing, okay, it's a fact that I can play well.
For me, it gave me chills. I was like, whoa, you're my everything. You don't like it. I love what you do. It's like, yeah, that's how a musician is. I'm always trying to be perfect, yeah, we will not.
No.
For you, I don't think you will ever be perfect.
No. I mean, it's not, I don't want it. Ugh, my God, yuck. Ugh. Because it's like, I will be scared. If I bring out something that is perfect, it's like a curse. You know what I mean? Listen, with this last album that I brought out, Between Hope and Despair, is the most successful one that I put out there. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's the most successful one I've ever been a part of, to be honest. And I'm like, oh my God, I need another. What is going to happen? Like, all of a sudden, the success was like daunting, you know? I was like, oh, if I bring another album and then it's not as good, and then it's like, it doesn't matter. The album is there. If I bring another album, it's not as good. I bring another album. Maybe it's going to be...
You'll learn with the second one. You'll learn with the third.
Exactly. And then another album. And then another album. And it's like more music and more this. And eventually, it's going to work, you know? Man, Between Hope and Despair was like... It almost didn't come out. Almost was like, let's cancel the whole thing because I was like not doing good mentally back then. But it's like... I'm so happy I did it and brought it out because I was like, this I can put behind me, you know? Mm-hmm. It's almost like it's this process of just let me fucking finish it so I can just move on. You know? So it's.
I like this about you.
So it's not staying here, and I'm like, ugh. That's why like I see people working on albums for 3, 4, 5 years. I'm like, are you crazy? You know how many changes you went through in 4 or 5 years?
And listening to the same recordings to pick a tape of each bar. You know, you can edit for 2 years. I know someone.
Yeah.
Who edited for 2 years. Which little moment am I gonna pick?
That makes to me edit make the thing it needs to sound good. That's
of course,
not the thing.
That's not what I'm saying.
But like that particular person that I will tell you after the podcast, I was like, I heard the album and I was like, yeah, it sounds like you worked on it for fucking 3-4 years. You know what I mean with that? It's too much. It's too much information.
Yeah.
There's also this thing of lack of time creates creativity. Lack of resources creates creativity. We don't have resources for this, so we find ways of just being more creative with that. Man, if I had $100,000 for this podcast, I would be spilling money. like down the drain. I know it's, no, we need this and we need an assistant and we need this and we need, it's like, for what, you know? But then when the money hopefully will come, we will be much more like, okay, let's be smart about it for the future, you know, and let's invest it properly for the place, you know. But
it doesn't come from heaven. So if you're not doing it, it's not gonna. But that's what I would say to myself. I would like to know what you would tell yourself.
what I would tell myself, I would tell myself, relax, everything's fine, chill. Don't be such an arrogant little prick to the people around you. You're not the second coming of Christ. You're talented, but chill. And take it easy and just don't try to fit into the jazz community. It's not your community. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Your community is the thing that you're building around yourself, and not, because that's a problem that I had, that I tried to constantly fit in and into things that I'm not fitting, and then I would always take it on myself that I'm the problem, you know, instead of like,
I recognize that.
yeah, instead of being, it's better to be celebrated in a place than tolerated, you know, and that's what I felt a lot of times. Also with Marmusha, to be honest with you, like it's at some point it just became this political game of, you know, who like stalemates of like who's throwing the first punch. You know, it was very toxic. You know, it was. But I will do an extensive episode about it, because it's things that people, I think, need to know and really like be aware of that. Social media is a very, very, very one-sided representation of your life. It's not who you are. And the other thing I would tell also myself is just continue doing what you're doing. Continue in that path. Don't get distracted. And yeah, that's it. I wanted to say something horrible, but yeah.
Don't fit in. Yeah, it's good. Maybe don't say the horrible, because this is good. It's good. We need to. It's so hard to be a musician because you want to fit in so many boxes.
Yeah, and you want to be loved, and you want to be seen.
You think that's the way you're going to be loved?
Yeah,
that's the way you're going to be seen.
Yeah,
because our worlds, like let's say jazz, it's small.
Tiny.
It's small.
Tiny.
You all have to be the same person. That's really tough.
Tiny, and gatekeepers and people, and he likes him, and we are going to promote DEI, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And it's like, it's just one big political game, and that's why I do believe that what we have with the platforms online right now, I'm a big advocate of it, of like just putting your stuff out there.
The whole world actually wants to see.
Yeah, they want to see you.
They actually do.
André,
that's
you know?
really interesting.
It's like, even if you do like a composition a day, I'm just here, I'm playing a composition a day.
Yeah.
And you'll see that all of a sudden people are like, hey, what is André doing? Like,
maybe he's really bad. I could watch this. Maybe I'm going to learn with him. You know? He doesn't really know how to compose. Let's see how does one learn.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be that negative.
But even if you're bad, I'm just saying as an example, like you could suck at something, and because of that, you're interesting to watch.
I'm 100% sure, man, 100% that if I look at your compositions from a professional composer standpoint, I'll be like, this is great. I'm 100% sure. 100%. You have too much music in you to make it not good. It doesn't make any sense.
That's what I have to listen. You know, I have to listen to this like the whole time. I still have these blocks. Of, I will record something on the violin and be like, oh.
But you have to.
I don't know.
Listen, man, I said it, I think I said like in the podcast, like this, or I can't remember. It's the third one today, but it's like, I see stuff of me from the podcast, man, and I'm like, oh my God, you're such an arrogant guy. Ugh, God, can you just shut up? Like about me, you know? And sometimes I even delete it because I'm so embarrassed by this. However, I see, if I look at like, probably I'll delete this reel also. If I look at like throughout the weeks, I become more and more comfortable with it. I'm like, okay, in the context, it made sense, you know, all right, you know, and I learn from it. But if I just try to just create or manufacture my image constantly, I will not get further. I need to feel uncomfortable with being cringy. I
Yeah,
need to
that's
feel
true.
comfortable with being cringy. I need
Yeah.
to feel that. To be
Because
like,
it will always be
it's always,
until it gets a little bit better, but not that much better.
but it's always like I saw this great meme of like someone showing like the idea, making it happen, and then the valley of cringe.
Yeah.
You know, that you
So
you
true.
have to go through it.
You have to get out of your comfort zone.
Think how many people told you, what? You're going to stop the concert? What? You're going to move to Amsterdam? What? You're going to stop by what? It's like all this people wanting to protect you and they don't want to see you suffering, of
Yeah.
course. But they're not in your shoes. They don't know that. And if you need to go through that thing to grow, then that's what it is.
We have it until now. Nowadays, you tell someone something and they're still, whoa, what you doing?
Yeah.
You're moving from Amsterdam. Right? We have it all the time.
Yeah, all the time, constantly. When are you moving actually to Groningen?
The end of this month.
The end of this month. We have a gig the 22nd, you know it.
I know. It's one of my last gigs in Amsterdam before I move. You see, like everyone will be a bit worried for you, and people who see you do bad, they will be worried for you.
Yeah.
They come from a good place.
Yeah.
Also, people who see you like posting something bad, which I think you should absolutely do. Posting something that you just look like a jerk, or you soloing on top of someone,
Yeah.
or whatever mistake, or
That's funny.
you look bad, whatever, post it.
Yeah.
Why? Because you have to train this.
Yeah.
You have to train
Yeah.
being able to put your work out.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing I think we can learn.
Man, someone told me yesterday something so funny. Like the comment section is the hood of the internet. You know, it's like the garbage of like. Man, we start getting. Is he coming? We start getting like Free Palestine stuff on like posts of us, and I was just like, it has no meaning, nothing. Just putting it there, you know. And I was like, oh, that means that actually people are starting to listen to this podcast. That means that people are actually listening to what we're saying. Who said it? Oscar Wilde said it, right? There is no bad publicity. There's only publicity.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying become a clown or an idiot.
No.
This is not, I'm not advocating for that.
There's a lot of
championing.
truth to that.
But people are going to see you doing something that they wish that they could do, and they're not able to do it. They don't have the balls to do it. So what do? They go and attack you.
Do you
know
want
what
to
I'm
be?
saying?
Do you want to be forgotten, or
Do you wanna
looked badly for 1
Exactly.
second?
Exactly. Do you want to be obscure for the rest of your life, or take a leap of faith and just do something actually substantial with your life? You know?
Yeah, you only learn by doing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
preparing is something that I'm getting like a little bit against.
Preparing
Too much before you do.
Yeah.
Like do and then learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really funny, but I'm getting a bit against preparing.
That's good, man.
As a violin player, which is the most, it's the thing you prepare the most for.
This is what I wanted to say. When I saw you playing next to the Concertgebouw outside with like your little JBL and like playing the pop tunes, I was like, you found your shit, man. I'm not saying like this is, but it's like, yeah, look how many people are engaged. It was beautiful. You saw it probably many times. It's like he's like playing these pop tunes, and people are like enjoying it and engaging, and it's like beautiful outside. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I was happy to see that. You know, I was like, you're probably making some good money from there, huh?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
The money is good, but also like to play for people and be in
Exactly.
front of them.
Exactly.
And then play Elvis Presley, let's say. I played
Wow.
Elvis Presley that day. And then
Man, we're gonna play all of this, huh?
nice.
In the gig.
And then
It's gonna
have
be
someone
fun.
saying, oh, this was my husband's favorite song. He passed
you go.
away exactly 2 years ago.
Wow.
I'm doing this trip now to Amsterdam because he loved the city of Amsterdam.
Wow.
And you were playing his favorite song. I have right now goosebumps when I say this.
Wow.
You know, would you get that so easily in Concertgebouw?
No, you know what you would get? It's like, bar number 58.
You know, I find it nice as a musician to be as bold as I can be. Does it mean playing on the street? Does it mean posting myself playing badly on the internet.
Yeah.
I just want to be the most courageous.
Yeah, but you know, I have to say about your situation is that like you hear, for at least for a musician like from the side, this is an accomplished violinist. It's not, you hear it, you know, it's clean, everything is happening there, and you choose willingly to go and do this for people. You're not in a situation where it's like, I don't have an apartment, I'm doing it out of necessity and need of like scarcity, you know? You're doing it from a place of, I want to give back to the community that gave me so much. And yeah, I think it's amazing. When we were walking there, I was stoned, yeah, but I liked it.
Nice.
I was like,
really happy to see you.
yeah, I was like, and I didn't want to disturb you, you know. I was just like, this is so awesome. Like this is like, I could see you happy there. I could see you, because I also saw in situations where you weren't happy playing music and it was shit, you know. We were both finding ourselves in situations where it was like so fucking whack, you know.
Yeah.
But it paid maybe better, and it was more
I doubt it.
pristine. Yeah.
I doubt it paid better. Just saying.
Oh, yeah?
I'm just saying, yeah.
Wow. Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I like
It's
that.
like you will find out on the internet when a lot of people are donating something to you, it picks up.
Yeah.
You find it on the internet as well.
Yeah.
When you start to have donations on YouTube, for example,
Yeah.
and people want to like support your job, and they're like, oh, he's giving back, I'm going to give something to him. This really adds up.
Are you releasing these things on YouTube? And
My playing?
Yeah.
I will. Now I will.
do it. Do some Patreon also.
For sure. That's the next step.
Because the real, I mean, maybe I'll get crucified for it, I don't know, but the real, the next step is to digitalize yourself.
Yeah.
Then you live in Groningen, you live in Scandinavia, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
The money's coming in and you're free, you know. You're doing the content and you're giving it to people, and it's such a different feeling, you know, because you're connecting to your audience also. Audience building is a big theme on this podcast also that I spoke with so many people about. Audience building.
And I build an audience also on the street when I play.
Yeah,
Believe it or not, it's like people just get so grateful. I also recommend it to other musicians. Are you practicing for your final exam, or do you just have some repertoire you can play alone with a box? Or do you have a friend who would be willing?
Wow.
Go and play. You will be surprised at the money and the reaction and how you feel. Like you can perform for 3 hours if you want.
Yeah.
Like that's hard. We are lacking sometimes performances, aren't we?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
But the streets are open 24.
yeah.
24/7.
Sometimes I'm like, man, I don't have enough gigs. I want more gigs. I want da. And I get so fixated with like, it should be in this way and it should be in this venue. And
I have to be paid that much.
Yes.
And if you play nicely on the street, I mean, the hourly pays more than most orchestras.
Wow, really? I need to ask you that
like
sum, but
maybe 200 people will cross you by in 10 minutes.
yeah.
And when you amplify that to the internet, which I have to get out of my comfort zone to do this.
Yeah.
To like really post my pop things playing on the street. That's the hard thing that I have to do, which I'm gonna do. I'm saying it online, so
yeah. Now it's gonna be out in 4 weeks, so 5 weeks. So
yeah, then it should be online already.
Yeah.
My pop playing, you know, like pop playing on the streets. Also, people love to see other people enjoying music. It has to be.
yeah, awesome, man, bro. It was so good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
It was great. Also, you brought your lady here.
Yes. Hope she's happy.
she's behind the camera there. Is there anything you want to plug? Because it's gonna be out, like I said, in 5 weeks. So think about like
Let's plug our gig.
22nd of June, we are playing in Lagerhaus in Amsterdam. It's a very cool restaurant, and we're playing actually just very nice tunes. We're gonna be dressed nicely, and we're gonna
Be honest, we don't know yet where we're going to play.
No, we're not gonna. I don't know. That's what I love about it. You know, accomplished musicians, we can just come together, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. But do you wanna you're gonna send me all the links that you wanna plug and all that stuff, and
If people want to see my trajectory now with being way more bold, they can follow my page.
absolutely, Andre's entire links are in the description. You can check it. We're going to release a lot of reels from this, 30 actually. So it's going to be like throughout the entire week it's going to be pushed. And that's it. And I'm talking again to you, the person that is not subscribed, that has been listening to this podcast. Are you okay? What's going on, man? No, really, I want to know. Because if you're not subscribed, how are you a part of this community that we're building right now? Are you? Because I am. Andres, do you want to be a part of this community? I know that I want you to be a part of this community. I got confused myself with everything. So, to all of you, 99% of the people listening and not being subscribed right now, subscribe, like, and follow us, because we have immense amount of content to give you. And we would love to see you in the gig.